So today we're doing something a bit different and we are going to rank watch brands. I don't understand this brand. The case back is always so much more interesting than the dial. I'm not gonna say anything else. Gonna need more coffee. So the first brand is a Lange Sohne. This is really good. I would put it at really good. They don't do too many things. They don't follow trends. The invisible details, that's where they shine the most. Every complication has its own department and every department has maybe like 10, 15 watchmakers. One of the senior watchmakers at Lange, he told me that because there are so few people making these watches that he can identify the engraver that has engraved a particular movement. Every engraver, every watchmaker has their own signatures, their own fingerprint on the movements. But they don't do too many things. I think this year I haven't seen anything exciting from the brand. IWC, I'd say it's good. No, I'd put it under meh. Not to say that their quality is meh, their quality is good. It's not just about what they've done before, it's also about what their current standing is. The Ingenieur was the latest big hit from the brand, but even that was too controversial. Mainly because of the price, but even in terms of design, I feel like the design it felt a bit outdated. Both the collectors and the enthusiasts are kind of fatigued by this design. Even if you look at newer brands doing this, in a more futuristic way. Nothing else from IWC that for me felt too exciting. So I'll put it under meh. Rolex, they're good. They're fine. Yeah, actually, no, this year was more exciting than the past few years. We didn't just see a slight change in the dial colors, slight change in the size. We actually saw new watches from the brand doing some really exciting things in terms of not just the watches and the materials that they're using, but also in terms of their brand strategy, their marketing strategy. It's really interesting to see where they go next. Now, this is a brand, Alexander Shorokhoff. It's very quiet. This is something we see across the board with a lot of independents, a lot of micro brands. They don't like to talk too much. They don't like to market themselves too much. They let their watches speak for themselves, which is not a really good strategy when it comes to watchmaking. This is the old way of selling watches. Now you have to do aggressive marketing. You have to do good marketing. This brand, unfortunately, is criminally underrated. Alexander Shorokhoff, for me, it needs work, and here's why. He is literally an artist, a watchmaker. He used to be an architect. He combines all of those skills, his artistic expression, and he conveys them into watches. Also, one of the most affordable, one of the most attainable hand engraved movements. There's a lot of work that goes into these watches. They make less than 3,000 watches a year. German made, great quality. Armani. Now this is just don't. Fossil for me is compared to all these other fashion brands because they seem to be a bit more original. But in terms of value, who's even buying these brands now? But there are people buying. Most of the people that I've seen wearing watches, they're wearing fashion watches because a lot of people, they're not geeks like us. They don't spend hours researching watch brands, learning their history. They just go and buy the thing that's in front of them. If you're looking for a watch that will last a lifetime, that you want to wear every day of the week, you don't need to spend a lot of money. You can find good quality watches. Armin Strom is really good. I would not put it under Grail because they still have a way to go. Almost all of their watches, especially the exciting ones, they are a bit too big on the wrist. But in terms of the complications, in terms of the innovation that goes into the watches, I consider them value for money, believe it or not. And this is not to say I've had some heat. When I say value for money, it doesn't mean that I can afford it. When I say value for money, I am simply speaking from a non-personal perspective. What you get for $50,000 from other brands, when you compare that to Armin Strom, you are getting a lot more value for money in terms of the innovation, in terms of the craftsmanship. Baltic has been killing it. It's really, really good in terms of the quality. I would say it's good actually because some of the watches, some of the movements, I think that they can improve or at least add a bit of their own personal touch to some of the movements. But in terms of the quality and the value for money and the design, the proportionality, they're one of the best. Behrens is a brand, Chinese independent watch brand that you may not have heard of. This brand is picking up, especially in Asia. This is a brand doing something really interesting, something really fun, and their speciality is creating modules for complications that allow them to do things that we don't really see at its price point. I would put this as good. They still have a way to go in terms of their marketing, their brand recognition, but it's picking up. I would say Bell & Ross needs a bit more work. It's one of those brands like Panerai. If you have two, it feels redundant. That's not the case with Cartier. That's not the case with Tudor or Rolex. You can have multiple of those and they all have, certain differences between them. I do like that they're trimming down their sizes, their case sizes. So you just buy that for the design, not for value for money. I would want to see more from them. Boldr, really, really good. For the price, one of the best micro brands for value for money. Even if you're looking for one watch collection, a tool watch that you can just beat around, you can do everything with it. It's a beater, it's a sports watch, it's affordable, mechanical movement, and they are actually creating exciting designs. Breguet is really, really good. It's gray level watchmaking, but the branding, the marketing side of things, it needs improvement. It needs work. F.P. Journe would not have existed if it wasn't for Breguet. George Daniels wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for Breguet. All of these brands, all of the new brands, they evolve the work. The watchmaking, it didn't start from nowhere. And Breguet was one of those pioneers in watchmaking that created a lot of the innovations that were later followed by other watchmakers. But as Andrew McCutcheon from About Effing Time and Tide said, Breguet is never in the conversation, and that is incredibly sad. The brand desperately needs revamp. Breitling is good. It's doing much better than the last few years. It's not a brand that I would personally go for as my first watch, as my only watch. It would be a brand that I would come to after owning a few other brands. So I like a few models from them, but most of them, they don't do anything for me. But they're good watches. Cartier is legend. Cartier is really good. This is one of the things that I love about Cartier. You can have multiple Cartiers. They won't look redundant. The way that they have somehow managed to create a design identity, but keeping everything still very different, it's a case study in good design. Casio, good watch. You want to buy a watch for $100? Get a Casio. You can't go wrong with that. Christopher Ward has been doing everything correctly. Consistently for the last few years, every release has been on point. And I don't understand this brand. I don't know how this brand does it, how they do it at their capacity, but they seem to be doing really, really good. Next, we have Electricianz. I would say it needs work, but it's a really good brand. I'm wearing the Hybrid E right now. This is my personal watch and I love it. It's not the most practical watch. If you plan to have just one watch, this is not for you. You want to get a fun watch at a not so expensive price, but with decent specifications and an original design, this is it. But it lacks marketing. I think that's where they need to improve. Fears, in terms of quality, they're good. In terms of their story, they're good. Nicholas is one of the nicest CEOs. You have great people running the brand, but they are a bit constrained in their design and they're a bit more dress oriented. But for their dress watches, they're really good. And I want to see some exhibition case back. Glashutte Original. I think this brand has the same issue as Breguet. It's not marketed properly. We don't know what's going on with the brand. In the last couple of years, all I've heard about is the CQ. They're not communicating their products as well as they should. Their quality is amazing. If you like Lange, you have to like Glashutte. I would actually put them in really good. I mean, everything that comes out of this brand is absolutely gorgeous. The finishing, the dial, the movement, everything is just amazing. G-Shock, really good. You have to have one. Grand Seiko. I'm sorry, Grand Seiko, but nothing exciting this year. I have to put you under meh. And it's the same with Seiko. Both Grand Seiko and Seiko this year for me, they've been kind of meh. Seiko is one of my favorite watch brands. I've owned more Seikos than any other brand. Recently, I just feel the brand being a bit too redundant in terms of their design, just increasing their pricing, but not improving the movements, not improving on the technology side. I mean, Seiko back in the 70s beat the Swiss in the chronometer trials. They were going somewhere with their technology, with their watchmaking, and Seiko just seems to be at a full stop. They're kind of like flatlined in terms of improving their movements, their accuracy. It doesn't make sense just creating limited editions after limited editions without doing something significant in terms of the actual watchmaking. So Hamilton has been a solid meh. They're good watches, good value for money, good movement, but nothing exciting this year. Hublot. Hublot needs work. I'm not going to put it in trash or anything like that. I don't hate Hublot. I like the Big Bang Unico, the white ceramic. I love that watch. I've tried it on. It actually wears really well. It looks good. They need to do more of that. Omega. They need to cut down some of their watches. I feel they have too many watches. Like if you have a Constellation model in mind, try searching for it on the website. I'm not gonna say anything else. Look at how difficult it is going to be for you to find that. That's a problem. JLC, great watchmaking, nothing exciting this year apart from the Reverso, but I haven't seen anything exciting come out of JLC for a long time. Longines is really good. Longines is one of the best watch brands out there. Even though everybody knows them, I feel like they're hugely underrated, especially for their history. They are doing really great stuff. MB&F, Grail. Legacy machine, horological machine. It's not for everybody, I understand that, but for a Grail watch, you are getting that personal connection. The work that goes into every watch is mind-blowingly amazing. It's philosophical, it's exciting, it's everything that we want a watch brand to be. Nomos Glashutte, really good. But this year, I would put them in good because I haven't seen too many exciting releases. The thing about Nomos is that even David Weber from Lange recommended Nomos as a gateway into German watchmaking. This is an absolute no-brainer. But the one problem I have with this brand is that the case pack is always so much more interesting than the dial. H.Moser is Grail. MB&F and H.Moser have such a good chemistry. They're not doing too much too fast. Every single release is it's on point. Beautifully done, great finishing, near perfect. Oris, really, really good. So many releases this year. Everything has been fantastic. They're kind of balancing everything really well. Sustainable causes, fun designs, serious watchmaking, serious tools, all, keeping at relatively affordable prices. Because they are independent, nothing holds them back. So I do like that. I do like that they just do whatever they feel like. Patek is a Grail. Are they still a Grail? No, I would put them in really good. Nothing too exciting this year. Next we have AP. Patek, I don't have too much to talk about. AP, I can make a whole video about it. I would say it's good. Now, AP has been under scrutiny for a while now, especially with their controversial releases of superhero watches, the fact that they're mostly focusing on Royal Oaks and offshores. I don't like the fact that we have kind of forgotten their other achievements. We just think of AP Royal Oak. They are still trying to do new things in order to connect with the younger audience. I get that. It is working even though we think they're killing the brand. But I just wish that they would have a bit more finesse when it comes to this. Rado has been doing really well, especially with their new Diastar, their Square collection, but I still think that it needs more work. When I got into watches, I didn't know about those movement sites like Caliber Corner. I could not talk about Rado. I couldn't make a video on them because I had no idea what movement they use. Till now, it's the same thing. There's no mention of the type of movement they use in their watches. And that to me seems very deceiving. Like, okay, fine, you're asking for more money. Talk about the cases, talk about the design, talk about the process of creating those materials and all of those things. Why do you have to stay quiet on the movement front? Just be honest. You know, we know by now that watchmaking goes beyond just movement. It's about all of these, getting all these parts right. So I don't understand their communication side on that. Swatch needs work. Swatch model has been outdated for many years. Micro brands have taken over. It's not sustainable, cheaply made. I don't think they bring anything new, anything. They were important. Swatch has been out of the game for a long time, and they just keep coming up with short-term solutions like the Moon Swatch, the Blanc Bond, whatever, but they need to revamp the brand. They need to find a long-term strategy. Tissot, good value for money, amazing watches, can't go wrong with the Tissot. TAG Heuer has been really good this year, and I think if they continue going forward with their current strategy, they're going to be up there. Tudor, really good. Any watch you talk about for $3,000, $4,000, it's always getting compared with the Tudor. They are doing incredible stuff for the money. Richard Mille, meh. I would very much prefer Bianchet. They have much more finesse. Swiss-made tourbillon movements, extremely shock resistant. You can play tennis with them. They cost under $50,000 and they look much more wearable than Richard Mille. They're okay for people who like them, but for me, needs work. I would put them in the same region as Hublot. It's just similar watches at two different price points, you know. But I understand Richard Mille has stronger history in terms of their innovation. Like, they were the ones that popularized this trend, but they're not the only one. Resonance is really good. Resonance needs more attention, and I think they are picking up, especially in the next few years. They are doing some really crazy stuff with their watches, with the way that they tell the time. It's insanely complicated. It's a brand that needs more attention for sure. I look at Resonance, I see future of independent watchmaking. Vacheron Constantin, I would put them in good because nothing new from them that has caught my eye. So yeah. What do you guys think? Not too bad. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and listening to me rant about all of these brands. If you enjoyed this, then I'll probably do more. Take care.